Okay, here we are. First, let's do a couple of housekeeping things. Okay, one, we're going to start out by, before we get to where I'm going, in the subject and thumbnail of this video, I'm going to do a couple of housekeeping things. And that is that a YouTuber, for a lack of a better word, came to the conclusion that I am mostly a revolver person. And the answer to that is no. Apparently we're not really seeing what I do, but if I had a true love or passion, it's for, number one, muzzle loaders, and after that, single shot rifles, pistols, and even shotguns. I got an example of all of them here. I don't know if it's necessary to show them all, but that's my passion, single shots. However, just because that's my passion doesn't mean that's what only thing I shoot. I'm a firm believer in not only shooting everything, but picking tools appropriate for the task at hand. Now, whether you like it or not, in my lifetime, a firearm, whether it be black powder, muzzleloader, whatever, is also a tool. So, like say, if I was to grab this guy, which I just did hunt with, and said, oh, this is my bear defense gun, well, in that case, I would tell you that the tool equivalent of that would be taking a crescent wrench to try to do a job that it requires a pipe wrench to do. You've also heard me refer to such a weapon as a offensive weapon as opposed to a defensive weapon. And I stand by that no matter how many times we talk about this. Offensive, defensive. That doesn't mean that I don't carry, when it's appropriate, even though this is not the best of access, something more akin to a different purpose. Okay. Now, as long as I'm talking about that, and it's not often I call out somebody at an inappropriate time or at a different time, but the same person that asked me that, who has an excellent channel, as far as I'm concerned, an excellent channel, and I hope he forgives me, but put it in this way, but he is willing to try a lot of different things, but he doesn't come across as I'm an expert. He comes across with it at a point where he's not only consistent, but also comes across as not necessarily, I'm the expert of all experts in this subject. I'm your average enthusiast approach, and I appreciate that. He does really good reviews, per se, with different platforms, including ones I give him a hard time about, like in the 380 class. I give everybody a hard time about 380. Remember, only friends don't let friends shoot 380. But that being said, he does a pretty consistent analysis with velocities as opposed to ballistic gel. He kind of mimics Gun Sam a little bit, but nonetheless, I'm going to call him out, as his channel is the Trigger Bar Philosopher, and thanks to him, I got my first block of ballistic gel at a actually better condition than I asked for, because I'm asking for well-used, too cloudy to utilize a camera, because let's face it, I'm not spending the money on a high-speed camera. But the approach is, I'm going to try to do a slightly different approach to the ballistic testing platform, and there'll be more on that later. But no, the purpose of this video is, as I told you, a centerfire rifle in this particular part of the state of 22 caliber and larger, as long as it's center fire, is perfectly legal. As you know, I challenged myself to a handgun this year, and this is what I used. No sense of me showing you. It's Grizz Getter. You've seen Grizz Getter before. And this is what I chose. This particular is what I chose to challenge myself. So, how does that relate to the subject at hand? Well, I'm going to try a magic trick, if I can. And where the real magic is, am I talented enough to edit it to make it look right? Well, there it went. This is what was legal this year for muzzleloader season. Now, if you haven't known me personally, I have long strived to implement traditional muzzleloading as part of a useful tool within multiple states as a effective harvest when a special harvest or extra harvest was needed for the traditional muzzleloader. Which means that the traditional muzzleloader could help promote the sport while wearing traditional clothing and get a fairly quiet and quick harvest as far as impact at the same time. Now, I've never been successful at getting that accomplished in any state I've ever had this talk about, but nonetheless, this state, among 3 other states, have decided that this year, I don't know if it's just this year, but this year, and other states sounds like they're trying to implement it permanently, that especially calling out Pennsylvania in particular, who has a strong flintlock support. But nonetheless, they turned in the late season or early season, it doesn't matter, you'll figure that out, into, oh, any center fired or any legal weapon can be taken into the flintlock woods. Now, how you ever feel about that, here's how I feel about it. There's a group of us, and I have to take some blame too, that'll spend more time arguing schematics, thread counts, and other things rather than actually promoting what we do to other people, including the youth, and spend all of our energy on that. And of course, I did a video where I took some time with a couple of youngsters, and currently, more explanation later, currently every time I managed to make it to a public range, have gathered enough attention that I've been able to share a little bit with the public, including one time I was working with a family from England, and to me that was kind of fun. I mean, it kind of reminded me of my old days of doing historical interpretation, where I get people visiting from all over the world and I'd get to talk to them, but this time I'd get to teach them how to utilize this equipment, because let's face it, if you're on a national park, this is supposed to be empty, and you don't teach people to shoot them. So to me, that's a positive thing. But here's the funny thing about it within this state, and we're going to start out with the black powder, or should I say hunting season thing, is currently we have a early September, mid-September youth hunt for 2 days, rifle. Have to wear hunter's orange. Break. The next weekend is a Liberty type of hunt, 4 for disabled vets, also rifle. hunter's orange. At the same time, you got people in the woods preparing to duck hunt who wear camouflage. Well, then October 1st is archery season. And if it happens to be on a weekend, the archery season, the archers are in the woods with camouflage. And there's also happens to be a Saturday and Sunday doe permit only rifle season going on at the same time. By the time October 1st comes around, you can hunt small game and game bird, and it requires hunter's orange. At the same time, again, that an archery hunter is in camouflage. Yet, over across the street at some mostly dry lake, duck hunters are hunting in camouflage. And it's like that for 2 more weekends within the month of October, where at least rifle hunters, hunter's orange, archery season in the same woods is wearing camouflage. How hard is it to allow either an early season or a late season, or for that matter, a mid-season? I mean, if you got right now an October 1st through November 14th archery season, to sacrifice one of those weeks in there towards the end of that archery season dedicated to muzzleloading kind of makes sense. No, instead, these interlocking seasons with conflicting gear create a situation where actually 2 negative things, in my opinion, happen. One, rifles turn deer into very nocturnal. Not enough time between those 2 weekends for them to get past being chased around with bang bangs. Harvest, even in the archery season, is way down. And 2, the most controversial thing I'm going to tell you is it creates a atmosphere where not all, but some fathers or whatever who are required to go with the son, is almost like it's 2 days to get a tag filled for the kid, provided the kid actually does the shooting. That's another story. So that when their time comes, they can just go, I'll see you later. And that is a sad, sad situation as far as a bond between father and son, and time in the field, sharing, for lack of a better word, ethics and fortitude and camaraderie within a hunting situation. So, now that I've ranted about that a little bit, I want to jump up to another similar kind of subject. Is this particular state, unbeknownst to me, like when I went to go get grizzly getter, this state, since I can remember clear back in the 60s, had a rule or law, actually it's a law, it's not a rule, that when it come to handguns of any kind, you had to have it inspected, and or if you bought it from a firearms dealer, you still ended up having to register it within the county that you reside. A registration, no less. Well, this last 6, 8, 10 months, whatever the heck it's been, unbeknownst to a lot of us, they implemented a second law that requires the recipient, even through a federal firearms dealer, to go in to the sheriff's department of your local county and apply for a said permit to buy that. And some counties charge you for that process. This county I'm in currently, it's free, or at least last time I was in there, they didn't charge me anything. But it gives you 30 days to purchase that gun that you're out after. Now, I've said this before to you, that when it comes to revolvers, semi-automatics, whatever it is, that if it is something that requires me to do that much, I generally don't purchase it unless I really, really want it. Otherwise, I'm sticking to my black powder revolvers. Now, this is something I think needs to be addressed, whether it's your state or any other state. Now, I'm going to give me a minute, and I'm going to try to set this guy aside. Here's something I'm also going to take a minute with, because I promised old MR trigger bar philosopher that I would show him, because he's into painting occasionally. He will demonstrate a AR or AK or whatever the heck that he's painted a camouflage pattern, and I promised him at the time, and you've all seen this before. It's kind of related to a inline as opposed to a side lock accuracy and reliability thing. But this was of course, there's a buffalo. Every once in a while you'll see another buffalo in the pattern, and some buffalo tracks in it, but mostly it was working up, because the firearms, or the muzzleloader season, excuse me, for this state usually has snow associated with it. And this is something, seeing this was already black, and everything else was black, and basically not one of my prized muzzleloaders, I decided to do that with this for hunting muzzleloader season with. Partly because my eyes don't do open sights very well anymore, and this made a good setup. So I guess at that point I've said what I came here to say, and I'm going to remind you that if you came here wearing your feelings on your sleeve looking to get your butt hurt, well, you probably came to the right place.